It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Army's assistant men's basketball coach, Coach Ben Wilkins. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Brandon. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you got into college coaching?
Yeah, I've always wanted to coach, Brandon. I'm one of the lucky people that know what I've wanted to do when I've been young. And when I was a high school basketball player, I was just okay. And my high school coach sat me down one day, and I was very lucky to have a coach invest in me, and Joe Dunn. And he said, "Hey, what do you want to do when you grow up?" And I said, "I want to coach." And he said, "Hey, do you want to? How about you be a student manager?" And he helped the avenue for me to get to NC State with Herb Sendek, and they both had Pittsburgh ties and knew each other from back then. And so it was neat. I went to NC State, kind of a manager, and then when you get out of the business, it's funny, getting into this, Brandon, is it's a very competitive business. But back then, this is before podcasts and the internet. I mean, the internet really explosion and social media. And when I was done being a manager, I thought I was just going to be a Division I assistant. I had no idea how hard it was, how competitive it was, and so getting into it, I thought I was just going to be that. And I went to Apex High School and was a teacher, JV head coach there for a couple years, for a year. And then what I did is I learned from one of my buddies' girlfriend at the time, got a teaching job by just writing every school in Wake County before a job was open. And I said, "Hey, why don't I do that to be a Division I or just be a basketball coach?" So every Division I, Division II, Division III in the East Coast, I wrote a letter, I mailed it to them, and I got 3 interviews out of it, Brandon. And I was 0 for 2 in my first 2 interviews. And I came back to Apex that year, taught again, and Ron Levency, who's the head coach at Barton, kept my letter because he said he was so impressed just in the cover letter and how hard I was willing to work. And he called me up 3 days into the season and said, "Hey, I got an assistant job." And he said, are you willing to take it?" And I said, I thought about it a little bit, and I was in the middle of a teaching, and I went down there, interviewed that day. He offered me that day on the way home. I paid all of $4,000, no benefits, no field, no meals, but I was on cloud 9. And I remember I almost didn't take the spot, Brandon, because I felt like I was leaving that classroom that I was in and those students. And another lady, Joe Dunn, my high school coach, and then I had a lady, Michelle Patelli, who I also did some guidance work. She was in the guidance department, sat me down and said, "Ben, you have to take this job." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She said, "There'll be another class next year." She said, "This is what you've talked about since I've known you for a year." And she helped pivot my life. So long-winded answer, Brandon. I'm long-winded. That's how I got into it. I've had some people when Joe Dunn helped me get to NC State, and then Michelle Patelli and Ron Levency give me a chance at Barton College. And I've just been lucky since then to do this for a living.
What was it like being the team manager for NC State?
It was awesome. And, it started with, I went there, I went to NC State to learn how to coach. That's why I went there. It was the ACC, it was the best conference. And Herb Sendek was an up and rising young coach at the time. If coaches listen, he's not as young as anymore as he used to be. So for me, it was a chance to learn. And I thought I knew basketball, and I went there on the first day of practice and said, "Man, this is not the same game I played in high school." Like, it was so much more complex. There was so much more to it. And I loved the aspect. You have your little, you being part of a team, and then you had your own manager team. And I came along, Mike Summey was the head manager at the time, and Mike Summey's now an assistant at NC State. Chad Collins, Mike Odom. I'm lifelong friends with the guys that I was managers with. And you got to understand how everybody has a role. And an hour before practice, Brandon, we set up practice every day. We made Gatorade, we cleaned the floor, we set up practice. Coach Miller loves gum, Sean Miller, so we'd set up all Sean Miller's gum out there, and then we played 3-on-3 till practice was ready. And but I loved it, and it was a great experience to learn basketball at the highest level, and to play a part, a very small part, but understand how every role is vital for a program's success.
What was it like to obviously get the opportunity to go to Wilson to Barton?
It was terrific, and within that, you want to coach. And the neat thing about this business is when you go to a lower level, and it's lower only in the term of you don't get paid as much and it's not as on TV. Like, everybody wants to win, everybody's competitive. There's good players, And so what was needed there, Brandon, is I was the only full-time assistant. So it was me and Ron Levency. And we shared an office that I could probably put my arms out and touch each other. But I loved every second of it because I got a chance to do every scouting report. I got a chance to try to learn how to recruit, which my first, we talked before this started recording, my first ever on the road recruiting trip, I had no idea what I was doing. And I remember my first phone call, Brandon, picking up the phone saying, I don't know what I'm doing. And I hung up the phone with the first ever recruit and said, has to be the worst phone call of the history of recruiting. And I had to figure, okay, how do I pick that phone up a second time and call the next one? And then I think the next one was like the second worst phone call in the history of recruiting. So I got a little bit better with each phone call. And I got a chance to coach. And the reality is you kind of fake it till you make it to that level a little bit. And you have to have confidence. And, I think one thing that I believe in life is there should be dualities and things. So for me, it was when I'm in front of the players, I had confidence, I coach with energy, I coach with passion. And then when I was by myself and put my head on the pillow, I said, man, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. I said, I better figure this thing out quickly or I'm not going to be doing this for a living. And I was lucky to work for a guy named Ron Levency, who was as supportive as could be. He's an incredible young man. He's an incredible man. And he also is a great mentor. So I had a safe environment to make a million mistakes at Barton and for him to teach me along the way. And I wouldn't be where I am without Ron Levency. And so that experience was incredible. And anything there too is, hey, you're doing the laundry, you're sweeping the floor, you're doing pregame meal. We had 15 pack vans. We're driving to the game. And you're doing everything. But I learned and grow so much that those guys I love that experience. And I was just lucky to work for a great guy. And I think that's, as any job you're at, if you work for great people, it makes your experience so much better. And Ron Levency, and I said, Brandon, I owe it to him. He gave me a chance when no one else would. No one else would hire me. And he gave me an opportunity. I'm forever grateful.
Was it like being the recruitment coordinator for Barton?
Like I said, that was kind of trying to figure it out a little bit, and that was, hey, I gotta make, my whole thing was I would make more phone calls than anybody else. And I think that's a piece of, for what I couldn't do, I sat there and said, okay, what do I control? I control my work ethic. So I said, hey, I'm gonna try to outwork people. And Coach Levency taught me along the way. And luckily he helped us shape a good class. And, the beauty of it, we found a guy, Bobby Buffalo, who was a terrific player for us. And I'll never forget this, is we offered him a full ride, which was rare for us. We only had 5.5 scholarships, and he accepted. And I had 2 or 3 Division III coaches called Ron Levency, he knew, and said, hey, he's not good enough to play your level. So I felt like, man, we don't know what we're doing, whatever. And Bobby Buffalo, and we played a rookie of the year in the league, started for a national championship team, all conference player. We had a guy, Anthony Atkinson, who transferred from Campbell. And we kind of found a way, and we're very fortunate. The last class is the best class in school history. Went to a round of 32, went to an Elite Eight, won a national championship, won 3 regular season championships, won 3 conference tournaments. But a lot of that, I'll be honest, was luck. And it was Ron Levency kind of helping me figure it out. But the beauty is I learned how to do it, and I learned not how to do it, Brandon. And I think that's the neat thing in life. Like, you learn by doing. And you can sit in a classroom all you want. Someone can lecture in front of you until you get in front and you try to do something. That's where you learn to swim or sink.
What was it like going back to your alma mater, NC State, to be the video coordinator?
I think it's, I guess I've seen some themes in my pattern in my life. I was lucky. I was in the right place at the right time. I was working camp at the time, and they had an opening. And Greg Moreland at the time was the video coordinator, who was moving up to the operations space. He went to Coach Sindek and said, hey, Ben's here. He's been a manager. Why don't we consider him for the spot? Hersh Sindek brought me in the office and said, hey, do you want this opportunity? And again, I was going to say no. And Ron Levency, and my head coach at Barton, said, Ben, you're making $5,000 a year. They're going to, pay 8 times what you're making right now. And it's the ACC, it's your alma mater. You got to go back. And for me, the beauty of that spot was learning from Herb Sindek. And Herb Sindek is brilliant. He had a 3.9 at Carnegie Mellon. And what people don't know is he actually has the most Division I head coaches that have worked under him in the country. It's not Rick Pitino. It's not John Calipari. It's not Coach K. It's not Roy Williams. It's Herb Sindek. And what I learned behind the scenes, Brandon, is how to be a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. And that's what Herb Sindek was. Everything was organized. Everything was thought up. Everything had a reason and a plan. And I learned that aspect. And then as far as a coach, the brilliant thing was I learned how to watch film and I learned the value of the film. And I remember I was so excited after a game or after a practice, we'd get there early in the morning and watching at the time Archie Miller and Sean Miller and Mark Phelps and Herb Sendek break down practice or break down a game. And they debated every play, and Herb Sendek watched every play 6 times. And I learned how to see the game at a different level. And it was great to be back to alma mater, right? Obviously love NC State, special place. But it was a lot of fun to be there.
What was it like to get your first opportunity at a full-time assistant role with Wilmington Mary?
Yeah, no, it was good. Wiliam and Mary is a great spot. And again, my theme of my life is people that bet on me. And I had a guy named Tony Shaver, who was the winningest coach at high school, winningest coach at Hampton-Sydney, went to 3 national championships there, and had just gotten a Wiliam and Mary job a couple of years previously and had struggled a little bit. And he had foresight to say, hey, how we did it at Hampton-Sydney schematically was not going to work at Wiliam and Mary. We were a very academic school in a non-academic league. So we had to be a little different. So what he did is when he hired that spot, he said, hey, I need somebody that knows how to play more of a Princeton-ish John Beilein 2-guard offense. Well, Herb Sendek had run it at NC State. So I got involved in a job, and Pete Strickland helped me along the way. I have to credit Pete. And I got there with Tony Shaver. And what I learned so much about him is humility. Here he was is a veteran elite coach. And I was the youngest CA assistant at the time, 26. And he said, hey, here's what we want to do on offense. You know how to do it. You go ahead and install it. You can coach it. I got the chance to run film sessions. And here I saw somebody say, hey, I know what we need to do as the CEO, how to get here. I might not have those skills quite yet, but I can hire somebody and do it and get out of the way. And Tony Shaver is the elite at so many different things. And that's something I learned with him. And then after a year or two, coach knew it, then coach had way more hands-on and he learned and grew. So I got the opportunity there to do things at 26 that nobody else does. But I've also learned an important leadership lesson from Tony Shaver. And again, no one else would have hired me as a Division I assistant. Like, he gave me a chance. Like him and Ron Levens, he gave me chances when no one else could. And so it was awesome. I met my wife there. I should probably talk about that, Brandon. So off the court, it was great. I made some great friends. Lisa Wilkins is my wife, who was Lisa Shook at the time. So Wiliam and Mary was terrific professionally, terrific, off the court as well.
What was it like to obviously take that big jump from obviously coaching in North Carolina to go all the way to Mount St. Mary's?
I think that for me, it's always when you make decisions, Brandon, you want to make decisions for the long term. And I was in an incredible situation at Wiliam and Mary. But when I'm honest with myself, I got a little complacent because I was working for a great boss. I had great friends. I was losing a little bit of the drive that I needed. And I want to be a successful Division I head coach. And I knew when hopefully the day comes, I'm going to have to take a rebuild. I don't have a big name. I'm going to take a job that no one else wants, which I love. I'm a chip on my shoulder type guy. So I needed to see a year 1 rebuild scenario. Jamie and Christian, who I worked with at Wiliam and Mary, is a good friend of mine. He got the Mount St. Mary's job. And it was the coach had left on a little bit of he got fired with a couple games left. So it was a rebuild. And I said, hey, this is what I need. It's one of my best friends. I'm going to do a rebuild. Wiliam and Mary, I talked about, I did the offense here. I was going to be the defensive coordinator. So I said, hey, I need to learn defense because I'm an offensive guy by nature. Our guys at Army will laugh when they hear that, but I'm actually an offensive guy. So I said, I'm going to study defense, which will help me be a better offensive coach. So the neat thing there was, hey, let's jump in. And my wife's supportive of, hey, if you think this will be better for our career, let's go. And I learned from Jamie, and of that year 1, it's all about culture. And we built an unbelievable foundation there, Brandon, and went to the championship game in the NEC the first year. We went to the NCAA tournament that second year. We were very fortunate. The previous staff, we had some very talented players left over. Julian Norfleet, Shad Wack, Sam Prescott, Greg Graves came in as a freshman, Taylor Danaher. We had a great core of players, but I learned from Jamie building that culture. And that year was so special because when I get my opportunity, I'm ready because of year 1 with Jamie and as much as anything.
What were some of the things that you accomplished in your career at Mount St. Mary's?
I think, as a team, like I said, we went to the NCAA tournament. Our last recruiting class there was the only one in school history to go 2 NCAA tournaments. So we're proud of that. And I think off the court, just as important, there's something called the Mount Cup. at Mount St. Mary's, which basically is your academic, your social community work, engagement on campus, and success on the court. And the men's basketball team had never won that award, and we won it for 3 straight years. And I'm proud that we talk about that culture that Jamie and our staff had built. Was we were successful not just on the court, but we were doing the things in the community. We were showing up more at any other event, and we improved our GPA dramatically. So we accomplished those things, which was great. And then, a little bit individually, defensively, we had the best. Kempon does all the analytics at men's basketball. We had the best defense in the league the last 2 years I was there. And one of the leagues, we had the second best in NEC history. So I was proud of the defensive coordinator, kind of learning that and figuring that out a little bit. And then recruiting wise, we brought in Junior Robinson, who was player of the year in the league, whose number is going to go up in Mount St. Mary's rafters. Chris Ray was defensive player of the year. So, but I'm more proud of that Mountain Cup, because that's what it's really about. It's not just winning between the lines. I think, Brandon, when we talk about winning between the lines, we're competitors. We all want to do that. What that lets me do is keep doing what I love, because we keep winning. No one can fire us. And then we're going to do it the right way. And we're going to mentor young men.
What was it like for you to take the big jump of going from obviously civilian schools to going to Army, which is a military-based school, and coaching military people?
Yeah, that's a question I get a lot, Brandon. And this place is obviously it's world renowned. There's not a more elite place in the world than West Point. And so people love to find out anything they can find out about West Point. And I thought it was going to be an amazing experience being here. But it's been infinitely better than I thought it was going to be. And West Point, what I didn't realize is it's all about people. And everybody knows, hey, it's the world's #1 leadership academy. It's an elite academic school. It produces, officers in the Army. But more than anything, it invests in people. And so for me, I've got a chance to, and that starts with the superintendent, which was General Caslow when I first got here, now General Williams. And they, you see what 3-star generals really are. And what we see in the movies is not what the 3-star general is every day. And what they are is they're elite leaders. They're very, very humble. The one thing I've learned about leadership here is the people that have done the most are the most humble. And, I think sometimes we can see this, the opposite in sports, where sometimes those guys love to pound their chest up. Here, these guys don't need to tell you what they've done. They've just done it. And then we have officer reps that work with our team, Brandon, that invest in us. We have 13 plus every year. I don't want to mention names because there's so many of them. But they invest in our guys. They have them over their house to eat dinner. They're at practice. We have a leadership development curriculum that we do. One of our officer reps pairs with a cadet. We have one of those tonight. And it's just amazing what people do. And I can't leave out, when I talk about people, obviously our staff is great. But what's different about our staff is a basketball staff, right? None of us are military, quote unquote, military. We're civilians, right? But our guys are part of that people, and they're special. They signed up for something that's more important than themselves. They want to be part of something special. They've chosen a harder path, right? It's a better path, in my opinion, than a lot if you want to be super successful. But it's not the path I had at NC State. My life was a lot easier at NC State than these guys have it. But they're learning and growing at such a rapid rate. And what I say, Brandon, is when they graduate 22, mentally they're about 42. And because of the experiences and the people they get at West Point, I could talk about our guys all day, man. They are special people.
What is a typical game day like as a basketball coach for Army?
Yeah, typical day. I think that we do a lot of work for those 30 plus games a year. So those days are sacred. So for me, I'm going to relax as much as I can in the morning. I'm going to make sure I spend as much time as I can with my kids, because nothing can make you feel less stressed and more excited than being around them. And then it's one of the few days, Brandon, I come to the office and I'm going to try to call one or two of my friends. I'm going to make sure I get a workout in. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to do the least stressful things I can do, because our team and our staff and everybody's ready for usually 7 p.m. That's when we need to be ready. So everything we're geared towards 7 p.m. We have shoot around. So we'll have about an hour shoot around. We're just fine tuning some stuff, get some shots up, talk about the other team. Then I'm a big nap guy on game day, Brandon. I'm going to take a nap. These guys make fun of me in the office, man. I got a mattress. I blow up my mattress. I get my sheets out. I take about an hour nap. I wake up to one shining moment on my alarm clock, and then we're ready to go, man. And then it's you put your suit on. Hopefully, Coach John, we don't do suits anymore with COVID. Hopefully, it's just khaki and polos. Last year, Brandon, that was a big change. And then we're ready to go, man. And then you do all the work for that. And game time is party time, and you got to enjoy it. You got to have fun. All the hard work is for getting those opportunities to compete.
Who are some of the teams that you compete in your conference?
Yeah, so Patriot League's mostly Northeastern teams, great academic institutions, and extremely well coached league. And you look at Colgate has been really successful lately with Matt Langle. BU is with Coach Jones is up there in the top, and then then you have Lehigh, Lafayette, Bucknell, Holy Cross, and then down in the South you have Loyola, you have American. I'm trying to think if I missed anybody in the Northeast. I don't think I did. And there's a team in Annapolis that's in our league as well. I can't remember their name, Brand. I think it's Navy or something like that, Brand. I think that's the other team.
Of course, what is it like playing Navy and Air Force versus obviously playing other teams like BYU?
Yeah, no, I think that it's special, and you're lying if you say, oh, it's just like playing another game now. You're playing those games because I talked about how special our guys are. Those guys on the other side are also signing up to be part of something bigger themselves, to really serve our country. So, but they're super competitive, and there's just different. It's going to be sold out when we play Navy. It's going to be on CBS Sports. I get goosebumps. I'm ready to go run through a wall thinking about playing those guys. The preparation, everything leading up is different. As a competitor, man, you want to be in those games, and they're intense. Every basket feels like it's 4 points instead of 2 points. It's just a fun experience. And you want to sing second in those games. So the way it works after the game, the losing team has to sing their alma mater first with the other team behind them, and then the roles reversed. So here it's not good luck when you play Navy, it's sing second. But they're fun. And same with Air Force, getting a chance to play them. And we only get to play them once a year because they're not in the league. Navy, we get to play twice a year, which is it's fun. It's fun. I mean, it's something that's special about this place. And when you walk around campus, you see, beat Navy everywhere. And I've heard, Annapolis obviously is the same. It's beat Army there.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you have helped build for the Army men's basketball program?
Yeah, I think our culture revolves around three things, and it's respect the game, respect the team, and finish. And I'm really proud of our guys and how much they care about each other. And that's what separates our guys. And I always say we have the best scout team in the country. And no one wants to be on the scout team. Everybody signs up to be that superstar. But our guys understand what it's like to be on a team and the value of everybody on that team. And then I think the neat thing is there's days the scout team has the best of the starters, and the starters respect the guys on the scout team. Whereas other places, they might be like, hey, why don't you take it easy today? I didn't want to go hard. Like, they respect that the scout team is playing, their games are practice, and they're getting our starters better. And I think that's the beauty of our team, is just how much everybody's valued in that locker room, and then how much everybody has a safe environment to be themselves. And the neat thing is we have guys from all over the country, and you can be yourself in that locker room, and it's a safe place to be. And then as far as respect the game, I think the culture there is, as I'm proud of how much our guys really look at the little things. They attack trying to get better a little bit each day. And we have a saying around here: slow, small, daily. How do you get better? It's slow, it's small, it's daily. And I love how our guys attack every day, and they're also resilient. And one thing about our team I love, if we're down 20, we're up 20, we've lost 3 in a row, won 3 in a row, we are the same team. And it's a resilient group that all we focus on is, we say DMGB, which doesn't matter, get better. And that's what our guys are about. We're just trying to we're trying to get better one step at a time, and we're doing it as a unit. So I think that's a little bit about our culture, Brandon.
Of course, what is the recruitment process like for prospective student athletes, and particularly prospective candidates?
Yeah, so at Army, I think what we're doing is we're trying to find an Army guy that doesn't understand they're an Army guy yet. And what I mean by that, Brandon, is there's a misconception of what West Point is and what it really is. So for us, we're trying to find somebody that's really driven, that wants to be really successful, that obviously is a really good student because we're an elite academic school. Somebody that wants to be part of a team, right? And then somebody that basketball is passionate about. And if you start to say, hey, I check all these boxes, now all of a sudden when we pick up that first phone call and we start explaining what West Point is and what it isn't, now it's like, oh wow, this place is awesome. This isn't basic training for 47 months at West Point. This is a high academic institution where I get to play Division I. I get to develop as a leader of character. And then I have a full-time great job that I can serve our country afterwards. They start to see this place a little bit different. So recruiting, it's a lot just early on to educate and to find out, hey, who has alignment with us? Because the reality, Brandon, is if you're not driven to be successful and you don't think working hard is part of that, you're not going to come and you're not going to be successful. If you don't think competition is part of getting the best of you, you're not going to come here, because this place is about competition, and that's our program, and that's down the hill, which we call the academic piece. So the neat thing about it is it actually weeds out it. Really, you talked about that culture earlier, Brandon. Our recruiting and selecting players is the first element of that culture in that locker room, to make sure that we're getting the right guys that fit West Point, align with the values of West Point, and align with our program.
Of course, what is it like to see those players that try on the jersey and commit and obviously play for Army and then go on to serve our country after 4 years of obviously college?
Yeah, it's a special moment, and graduation here gives me goosebumps thinking about our guys throwing their hats in the air, and then you get served in as an officer after that, and seeing those guys, their first salute gets to be from somebody they choose, and a lot of times as a teammate, and it helps you remember why you do this, Brandon, and seeing them where they are at 22, 23 years old and where they came in as 18, it makes you proud. It makes you proud to work at a place that's different and that's special. And I try not to get emotional thinking about it, Brandon. It's just different. It's different, and knowing that they're making a real difference in life. And the neat thing is they're making a difference for our country. And then I also know that it's amazing how life works. When you help other people out, you end up getting the most rewards. And I know for them, they're going to be super successful because they chose West Point, because they chose to serve our country and help others out. They've learned more lessons through this path. It's going to help them be, whatever success is for them, they're going to achieve.
What advice would you give future college men's basketball players looking to play college basketball?
I would say the biggest thing is focus on what you control. I think this is the hardest time that there's distractions everywhere, from social media to going to camps, to just get better every day. And I think that everything is, people always want looking for the trick of a trade. Usually the trick is to learn the trade. So if you want to become a college basketball player, become a better basketball player. I think that's first and foremost. And you got to spend time deliberately in the gym daily, and you got to improve. And then you got to be realistic about where you are at your level at some point. If you're a Division III basketball player, you're an elite player. And sometimes people look at that and say, man, it's only Division III. Division III players are really, really good. And every level of college basketball is. So I'd say just get better every day. Stay focused. Don't worry about social media. Don't worry about this guy got this, or this player got this, or this coach called me, or just get better. And it's a hard time to do it. I don't blame this. It's a hard time for all of us, me included, to stay off that social media.
What advice would you give future college basketball coaches looking to get into the industry?
My biggest advice is that you have to understand that you're not choosing a job. You're choosing a way of life. So you have to know that from the get-go, that where I love what I do, I feel like I've cheated life. I've never really worked a day in my life, Brandon. So, but your hours are long, and your commitment is, weekends and nights and all that. But it's what you love. You'll be good. And I would say the same thing I said about the players with coaches is learn basketball at the early age you can. Write down everything you know. Go to as many clinics as you can. And if you're trying to get into the business, you got to try to connect as much as you can. And that's, hey, can you go to a practice? Can you go to a clinic? How do you get to know people? There's so many Zoom calls now. Jump on Zoom calls. Find ways to open up one door that you can to help you get in the business, because it's a great profession, bad business. And what I mean by that, Brandon, is it's hard to get in the door. I was very lucky. I told you, Coach Dunn helped me out, Herb Sendek and Ron Levinson and Tony Shaver. And you just need one person to bet on you. And I think that's the thing, is you just got to open as many doors as you can to get one person to bet on you. And then, hey, when that person bets on you, Brandon, you got to make sure that they get paid off. And you got to do a good job where they're at, because there's a lot of people that would love to be in my shoes. And I think that's the advice I would have. I don't know if that even made any sense. I rambled a little bit there, Brandon, but and here's the thing: I help anybody out that wants to get in the business. I'll give them any advice I can. It's one thing I owe anybody trying to get into this profession.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find, of course, the Army's men's basketball program at on social media along with you?
You know what, Brandon? That's a great question. I have no idea. I'm on Twitter somewhere. I think it's like Coach Ben Wilkins, I think. I should know that stuff. I'm an old guy now. I'm the second oldest guy on staff. So Coach Belfield or Coach Chesley or Coach Mann, they have an idea. They got their handles and all that. I don't know. It's a bad answer, Brandon. I have no idea.
Thank you again, Coach Ben, for your interview, and best of luck in your future as you start your career at Army.
Thanks, Brandon. I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me on. That was awesome.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Ben, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.